This is the discontinued limited edition Leatherman Arc Obsidian, and this is the new, not limited edition, Leatherman Arc Talos. Plus, we've got a pocket clip from Lynch Northwest. Today, we're going to be taking these three things, combining them into a perfectly blacked out Leatherman Arc. So, where the heck do we begin? With the Leatherman Arc Obsidian, you see we have this completely blacked out tool except for all of these champagne accents. Now, I have tried black oxiding or cold bluing my own hardware from Leatherman Free P4 to not too much success. But last week, Leatherman launched the Leatherman Arc Talos with all black hardware, including the spring release levers. So we are going to be taking this hardware from the Arc Talos, putting it into the Arc Obsidian, and for good measure, we've got a black pocket clip from Lynch Northwest that we're going to be adding on in place of this champagne one. Of course, we do have the black pocket clip now available from Leatherman. Strangely, they used the black screws on the Arc Obsidian with the champagne clip, but they used silver screws on the Arc Talos with the black clip. None of that really makes sense to me, but that's okay. We've got this clip and the black screws, and hopefully that will get her done. So let's start taking things apart. I think best case, I take the hardware off the Talos, pull those parts aside just like we do on most Wednesday streams, and use those to insert into the Arc Obsidian. Got a couple of new goodies today, so let's pop out this T6 driver to get the pocket clip removed. Need to remove that just to get it out of our way. Easy peasy. And I'm going to grab, I guess I don't, well, I'm going to set these aside. That's good enough. Pop the other screw free. We don't need any of these parts as of yet. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, very soon we will have these Arc Talos parts in stock on the shop. I just got to get a couple more in stock. This one was just bought for this project. But here we go. Let's start up top with the plier side as we normally do. Probably be a little bit longer video this week just because we are going to take apart an entire tool and then rebuild an entire tool, but that's all right. I have been very excited for this project since the Arc Talos got in stock. And I know it's not for everybody. The colorway is not everyone's favorite, but I was just too excited to see those black oxide parts. So let's get into it. I've got my punch now on the back end of my screwdriver, which is handy. Let's make sure it's the right size. Heck yeah. We'll still need our smaller punch as well, but there are, let me salvage these in a nice little dish, our black oxide pivot screws. Those actually we could get off of the standard Arc since it's black, but we're not gonna. All right, let's pop the pliers out. Easy peasy. Just gonna set those off frame out of the way. Now we've got the two sides of our Arc Talos. Trying to see if there's if there's any differences in the Arc Talos that are different from the standard Arc, but not seeing any so far. So hopefully, I have no doubts really that these will be completely intercompatible with the standard Arc. Using our new Vera screwdriver, our new disassembly tool that I just shot the video on, so you guys see that a little more on this soon. Kind of getting to a point of a lot of good stuff happening for the shop right now and for the channel, I hope. And tomorrow we've got our member draw or member giveaway, so for that SOG Power Pint. If you guys are not members and not able to watch these Mod Monday streams live, then obviously you can watch them a couple weeks after the fact on our channel. and that's hopefully cool. But we are going to be having more member giveaways, so stick around. I think we can just plop this all apart. Ooh, lost a little bit, dropped a couple of frames. I think we're back up and running. A-okay. You can see they didn't coat it around the pivots, which is probably smart. Just going to save as many parts as I can over here. Don't need a lot of them because they are, this is going to be a partial deconstruction, but really, oh, I don't need to take this apart on camera because I have, do I have all the hardware? Oh no, I really thought the springs were black, but they're not. That's unfortunate, but we will persist. Yeah, we have champagne springs on here. That's a bit of a bummer. I'm gonna have to double check the, I thought for sure they were black oxide. Okay, we'll grab our pivots here and the rest of our parts. Pop that off. And that should be, yeah, that's everything. All right, I'm gonna grab our springs just because we'll reuse these. Because we might as well. We've got our locking tabs and the rest of our hardware. So let's get to swapping these out. How do I want to begin? We'll start at the plier side as we usually do. Sorry for the camera shake there. I do need to remove the pocket clip first though. I've just got that T6 driver built in here now, which is nice. We're going to save these screws because they're black. Obviously, this is not a project that everyone's going to want to try, but for those that want to see a breakdown of a Leatherman Arc, I think it's fairly useful information. All right, this is my first time breaking down. No, I've broken down Arc Obsidians before. We actually sold some parts early on before we found out they were limited edition. So we broke down 2 or 3 of them. Don't need the champagne hardware for now. Save that for maybe a future project. I wonder if they'd look decent on the Arc Talos frames. Maybe we'll get a 2-for-1 here. Won't do that all in today's video, but might try it out, see how it looks. Grab ourselves punch. And now we are gonna have, actually we don't need, oh, we do need 2. So what I'm gonna do is just swap out these pivots right off the bat. So I'm gonna push through with the punch, and then I'm gonna come back through with a black pivot. The reason being that we can kind of open the Leatherman Arc from one side. So we can lay it down and pull the frames off the top and work on it that way. And that does tend to be the better option. Give me just a second here. I'm going to make sure I am in airplane mode so the stream does not get interrupted. Now we can jump over to the back side and we will crack open these pivot screws. Really liking this shorter shaft on the disassembly tool. It means I don't need the bench vise as often. I can just hold everything, get that bit lined up, hold everything with one hand, and then use the other to use the opposite screwdriver. That's very handy. I've got a pile of parts off to the side here. You guys can get a glimpse of that. I'll show you why we kept the pivot screws in the other side. How that's going to work. There we go. Before we jump in too far, let's go ahead and swap these pivots out as well. So I'm going to push through with my punch. And I'm going to take the black pivot, and we're going to come right back through, just pushing that against the punch. The punch keeps everything still in line, and the pivot works its way through. Little wiggle from the punch now that we're stuck. And there we go, right through. Let's do the other one. Ooh, lost a little bit there maybe. We'll have to confirm we didn't lose a part in that, but not a big deal. Slide that right back through. And there we go. We have an almost reassembled Leatherman Arc with those black pivots. But of course, we want to swap out some more, so let's dive in. From here, we can simply lift the frame off. We're going to have a small washer in there. Don't forget about that. Lift the frame off to either side. Just do that on the other side as well. I want to kick that file open. Yeah, because there's this tab that comes underneath it. Flip that off to the other side. And now we can have a nice layout so we can see exactly how things go back in place. So let's pull off that next layer. Easy peasy. I'm going to grab some tweezers here just to lift up these springs. And those are going to get swapped out. So I'm just going to bring in the new springs here. We'll go silver with them. Just because I wish those were black out on the Talos. It's kind of disappointing that they're not. Just lifting straight up. There we go. But the Obsidian has those champagne colored springs, so we don't want those either. We're going to get down to the next set of springs as well, because those are going to get replaced. Easy peasy. Pull off the can opener and the micro driver. And the awl comes off over here. And you can see now our levers are coming loose. So we can just set those aside. Those are also getting replaced. And we're down to our next springs. I'm going to hold down on the those magnets here. And hopefully we can get everything. I'm going to only zhuzh this to center frame. We can actually zoom down just a little bit as well. Let's lift up on these springs. If they get canted, they'll start to bind up. Oh, that's what was binding it up. The small plastic tab. Got to remember those. Let's slide this one out so we don't have the same issue. There we go. Hold down there. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. Oh, of course, we need to swap out the champagne blade as well. So let's get that free. And that's going to be the last piece out of this. I've got a spare used blade that came with no thumb stud. Thanks for that, Leatherman. We will drop that one in first and foremost. So just going to make sure that seats all the way, and then that magnet will pull it in place. Obviously, be careful when you're dealing with blades. Now, what comes next? Let's see if we can get these small plastic tabs in place. You can see on the Arc, they drop in right here is the plastic bit. So the little nubbin comes out towards the pliers. And that means that this is going to be on this side. So I'm just going to try and spread those apart. Excellent. The magnets are going to want to jump around. That's just a fact of the matter with the Arc. You're fighting magnets at all times. So I'm just going to keep those spread apart a little bit till they have a little bit more mass in place. Then we should be able to start dropping in pieces. I believe I forgot to grab the springs, so those are going to go in next. And they just slip down on the pivot. They interlock on the pivot as well as on the magnet. And they drop below. I probably should put those on, yes, before that plastic spacer. So let's undo that, drop the spring in place, and then slip the magnet in there. Hopefully that made sense. I will try and show it again here on the other side. I'm sure my hands are causing all sorts of issues. So I'm going to pull the plastic out, and the magnet can also come out temporarily. We'll drop the spring in place. drop it down, and that just slots right in the cavity of the spring. And then our black plastic bit drops in next. They're going to be a little bit loose until we get some more tools in there. That's a-okay. They may be, at least. Now, can opener comes next. Make sure we've got our tabs always aligned the right way. I've put tools in backwards before, and it's no fun. Next up is the screwdriver piece. Do I have this correct? I believe it goes this way. Let's drop that in and make sure I've got it oriented properly. Yeah, that looks right. And then let's drop the next spring in. That'll help lock everything in place a little bit. We'll start dealing with the locking mechanisms here in a second. I'll do the other side. I'm not sure if that's wise or not, but we'll get it started. So in goes all and the micro driver. This is what kind of makes working on the Free Series kind of simpler than a standard, or easier maybe. There's more components, certainly, and they're magnetic and they cause issues that way during assembly, but because you can remove half of the frame and get it out of the way, you're not working in such a tight space. So right there, I'm just able to slip that piece in. When working with the Wave, you've got to slide tiny washers in place between two frames with very, very limited space. So there's the other springs in place. I'm going to just go ahead and drop in, we'll drop in the saw. That'll help keep our spring sandwiched down. And we can drop in our file as well. I won't put the small washer in just yet. There's a small washer that goes between the frame and the first tool. Won't drop that in just yet because it's liable to pop off. Meanwhile, I'll start working in the locking tabs. So these are going to drop in right here. In order to seat fully, you're going to need to lift the frame of the tool a little bit. You're also going to need to apply some upward pressure on these springs, or downward with the way that this is currently oriented. You just want to get this seated like so. I'm going to press in and press down. So I'm pressing this way and this way, if that makes sense, until this small pip on the bottom side drops into the hole in the frame. And it already did that, so that was quite simple. It is not always quite so simple, but perhaps my practice is starting to pay off. Starting to. This one, there we go. Hopefully you can see some of that. Does look like that is seated. So let's set this down gently. And we can close this thing up and be done almost. I'm going to grab the washer off the frame so it doesn't fall off later. Set that in place. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Easy peasy. Then we take our frame, and we got to make sure we line it up with both the pivot hole here, or the pivot here, and the locking tab hole. So hopefully that is seated, and then come down to the other side and drop it into that hole as well, that pivot through that hole. I think we're okay here. Let's try the other side real quick. This has got the tab in the place, so you are going to want to open the file up a little bit before you begin dropping this in place. And that magnet's going to latch on. We need to spread this out ever so slightly. And I can see that our plastic bit has dropped off as well. Let's see if just by gently spreading that frame, if we can drop that back in place. I think we managed. Okay. In theory, this tool's about ready to cinch back up. So let's start doing so. I'm going to start on the tool ends because those are the more complicated ones. And I'm just going to come in from the top. I'm sorry you can't quite see, but I'm just going to get that screw started. And eventually it'll tighten up enough that the backside will spin. We'll have to get a screwdriver back there as well. So same thing over here, just get that started. Hopefully we've got some traction there, and we'll just go ahead and do the plier side as well. Just getting everything started. There is a chance that something's a little bit out of alignment here, at which point we will want to have a little bit of play in our mechanism so we can fix that. So that is looking pretty nice in that full black look. Let's go ahead and grab our secondary screwdriver and start cinching these things up. I'll do as I always say. Sometimes you might want to add some Loctite here, but I'm just going to go by tension, tighten it up. I'm going to over tighten it, and then we're going to back it off about a quarter turn. Same thing on the other side. Tighten, and a quarter turn back. Jump up to the plier side, exact same thing. That feels a little bit off. I'm going to take a closer look at that in a second. About a quarter turn back. Same thing here. Quarter turn back. Let's check everything out. Does feel like I got, yep, I got a little play up here. We'll tighten up. Oh, both of the plier side have a little play. Let's check the tool side real quick. Everything opens smooth. Blade opens, locks, closes. Ladies and gentlemen, we may have our first successful blacked out arc. It has taken quite some time, but we are right on the cusp. What I can see here is this pivot. This is the pivot side, I believe. It's not popping through the other side of the frame properly. So work this out a little bit. We're going to adjust things until it seats. You can see right there, it's slightly misaligned. So that's something we want to correct for here before we cinch it up all the way. And I'll tell you why that happened. If I'm not mistaken, yes. This little tab here is from the spacer inside. You can see it really well on the standard Arc. You can see that silver tab that's sticking out. When I had it closed before, that tab had rotated and was behind the frame, and that's what was keeping it from seating properly and keeping it from cinching up fully. So keep an eye out for that. It's harder to see on this blacked out Arc because everything matches, but and I'm guessing that is the same thing here. It definitely is. So I'll show you that again in just a second. Don't need to pull it all the way out. You can see that this side does not match. There's nothing here where there is something here. And that is because we need to, let me flip this over, rotate. Oh, we may have to lift up all the way. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to pull that screw all the way. There we go. Do you see that? This little piece had rotated down under. We need it to be right there. Haven't had that issue before, but stream's breaking down just a little bit. I do apologize. Try and hold any important commentary until that gets back up and running. So we can cinch that up, back it off a quarter turn. Let's get that pocket clip in and we will wrap this mod up. 26 minutes, not the worst mod we've ever had. Appreciate you guys watching, though. Did I just lose that? How did I lose that? All right, we've got our T6 driver here for this bad boy. Slip that pocket screw on. And let's grab our clip from Lynch Northwest. Leatherman does now make a black version of this, but wanted to support the guys at Lynch Northwest who I met at Blade Show in Atlanta earlier this year. So let's get their pocket clip installed. I'm going to get one screw mostly done. We'll get the other screw done and go back to the first one. Oops, lost the screw. If you guys are watching after the fact, you guys can catch these videos a few weeks early and live as part of our members-only Tuesday streams. Appreciate all of our members who are here with us today live. I will get to a Q&A or comments in just a moment, but let's take a second to admire our handiwork. Here's all of the parts, or most of the parts, that we've removed from these Leatherman Arcs, and here is our result. I actually really like that black on the pocket clip. I wish that was all over, but that is a-okay. We now have a properly blacked out Leatherman Arc. The only hint of anything but black is these springs. If you guys can get some black versions of these springs and want to send them in, let me know. That is today's project. Everything, I can't believe that worked out, and everything came in just in time to do this mod. It's been waiting for a very, very long time. Wait a minute. I forgot something. I forgot to grab the thumb bar off of our Arc Obsidian. So let's see, that just slipped, which is definitely not ideal. Try one of our Vera Torx bits. Yeah, that's why I swear by Vera. They just have a grip that you just can't get on other things. That was the Roxxon T6, and it slipped on the first try. The Vera just powered through it, even after I'd probably strip that screw a little bit. So there is finally our Leatherman blacked out Arc. And yeah, that thing does look pretty slick. Obviously, I know that this is not a mod that many people are going to spend the money to try, but I wanted to at least give you guys an idea of what it would look like before you do so. The Arc Talos parts are going to be, the frame parts are going to be available on our site very, very soon, I hope, so you can get the frame pieces and get all that hardware with them. And in the meantime, hope you guys enjoy. We're going to jump to the Q&A now for live members, and we will catch everyone else in the next Mod Monday.